what is Roofing Southwest all about, and what are your day-to-day operational challenges?
So, Roofing Southwest, we're a national roofer in the United States. We travel across the country and service customers with their roofing needs, from leaks all the way to full re-roofs. We have a service piece as well as a capital expenditure piece that we focus on. And we're basically a service-based company. So we service customers with their current needs, which have to do with roof leaks. What was the second question?
Yep.
What was the second question? Yes, the second piece of it.
What is Roofing Southwest all about, and what are your day-to-day operational challenges?
Our operational challenges range from personnel, people, and the biggest challenge we have is that we have a office location that's kind of our hub, which we call our corporate headquarters, and we're kind of scattered throughout the country with projects, with different people, different groups of people managing different projects across the country. And it's really hard for us to communicate to those people on the job site, as well as it's very hard for us to see and capture what's actually happening on the job site on a daily basis.
Okay. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
How did the Hoku Apps platform help in resolving this pain point for your business?
Hoku Apps came in to our business with an idea that we had as far as creating a platform, a cloud-based platform that would store some of our information that we wanted to gather from the field. And we wanted to create a platform that would allow our guys in the field to capture the information with minimal ability to transfer the pictures, either via email or via text message. And we wanted to gather that information that they captured on a daily basis and try to funnel it back to a cloud-based storage platform for us to review for quality control, send to our customers, as well as safety and some other things that are important. So we basically used Hoku Apps to help create this platform for us came with the original idea and it turned into a lot of bigger things that we're kind of building now, which is exciting. But overall, I think the hardest part is to really brainstorm what you could really do with it, because ultimately, working with Hoku Apps, or working with Hoku, we can kind of build anything, So our ability to build pieces within the app or desktop has pretty much given us a limitless ability to critical think on what we're doing and how we're doing it and reshape the platform that we're kind of operating on. So it allowed us to almost create a different platform innovation that we're really working on now versus originally when we first inquired with Hoku, we were inquiring about just creating an app, like a real basic app. And now it's turned into almost a platform that will pretty much run our company, I think, at one point in time. And we're pretty excited about it. I say a lot, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're amazing. Okay. Can you take a 5-second scab once I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah. How critical do you think are mobility solutions for business growth today?
I think that if you're not thinking about the mobile platform today, then I think you're already behind, because the mobile platform's here, it's working, and everybody's using it in some way, shape, or form. From the guy delivering your refrigerator to ordering food, with Uber and all that stuff today. The platform of your phone is a gateway now to doing a lot of things. So for us, being able to create almost like an internal platform for communication as well as documentation, that's what we've used it for. And I think in the future, younger and younger customers are wanting more and more information. They're used to downloading information and have everything at the touch of their fingers. So our customer base is becoming more needy. They want more information, and from an older model, like a roofing company, the information management and the transfer of information has been very challenging. So in the future, with our mobile app, we have the ability to create reports and things on the click of a button in a second. That's given us an ability to service our customers like never before, which is huge. So I think in the future, everybody will have some type of mobile platform or mobile app or mobile piece. It's really what they want to use it for that will make it worth its money, I guess, to an extent. So I think the mobile platform is here to stay, and if you haven't started already, then you're behind.
Sounds good.
Good? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. How much of this has been achieved in Roofing Southwest with the implementation of the Hoku Apps platform?
So the implementation of the Hoku Apps platform for us has given us the ability to. Can I start that over again? Okay, because I want to answer this a different way. Okay, so the Hoku Apps platform has given us an ability to do a bunch of things that we did not even dream of before we started building it. You kind of don't know what you know or what you don't know until you do something like this and start building a platform like this. Because as you start building it, you start to learn what you can do with it, and that opens up a whole nother set of doors that you can now open that can create efficiencies or operational effectiveness, a bunch of different things that we can brainstorm to then implement. That piece alone has allowed organically the culture in our company to grow, as a team, and then it also creates an energy within our team that's exciting, and we're all working on something that's a lot bigger than our roofing company. We feel like we're building something that is scalable. That's something that we can manage across the country or across the world. So this platform for us has been huge, and I think it's the sole reason why we're able to do what we're able to do today is because of that platform, to be able to create what we've created. So I think Hoku is directly responsible for it, and I think that their team is amazing with crafting certain things that are important for the goals that we're trying to achieve. And I think it's important that when we sit down with Hoku and we explain what our problems are and what our challenges are, and then the Hoku team then responds back with solutions of how we can go about, tracking this or monitoring that. And for us, that's huge because we don't really know how to build this stuff. We don't know what we can do, what we can't do. But what's important is that we can come to them with a problem and they can create a solution that is tech-based, that's got a work through or work path that's effective, that we couldn't even we couldn't think of. We don't have the intellect to think through some of the workflows and think through some of the things that we can monitor and how we can track some things. And that's huge for us because that allows us to see what our abilities are within building the app. And it also allows everybody to pitch in their own 2 cents and have their own wants and desires of what they want the app or the desktop version to do. So Hoku is predominantly, the reason why we've been able to do what we've done so far. So, very cool.
What is your advice for small business overwhelmed with how digital is transforming their operations?
Say that first part again.
What is your advice for small businesses overwhelmed with how digital is transforming their operations?
So what is the advice for small businesses that are having challenges currently with mobile?
Yes, like how digital is transforming the operations. I mean, it is all about like small businesses, big businesses. They don't use software that much on the digital side, and so what is your advice for them? Like how digital is transforming their operations? Like how digital is coming now?
So, I guess I don't understand the question. So the question is, how is the digital technology in general affecting small businesses and large businesses?
Yeah, you could say that. What is your advice for them? Like how this thing can help them?
Okay. Um, so the digital technology, in my opinion, for small businesses or large businesses, how it's affecting them positively or negatively, I think can be summed up in one simple word, and that's automation. So whenever you have an ability to click a button and multiple things happen afterwards, the automation piece that we call automation, that is basically robots doing your work for you that people have had to do in the past. So the single most important thing that that application or a desktop piece creates for us is it creates an ability to actually do more with less people. And with that, you can be more effective, you can be more profitable, and you can have happier customers, and that's the key thing. That work?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
I mean, you kill it.
Go off.
Okay. How was Roofing Southwest biggest digital transformation challenges?
Our biggest. Let me try that again. Our biggest transformational challenges for the digital items has really just been adoptability, and I think that's the challenge in all companies that try to adopt some type of tech within their organization and change a platform that they're used to managing off of. So I think the adoptability piece is the hardest piece, and the training, and you have to have proof of product, right? So you have to prove to your team what we're trying to accomplish, and then you have to have proof that what we've built is actually doing that. And that's the hardest part to get over that hill, I think, in my opinion, because once you've proven that to your team, then they're sold on it and they want to use it, and that's the hardest part. Once you've gotten to that part where they've now adopted it and they're using it, and then you have the right accountability pieces in place to manage all the people underneath, that I think is the most important piece, is really the adopting. And once you have the adoption done, if you have a good app or a good desktop product, then then it'll grow. However, if you don't have something that's built well, you'll never get adopted. You'll never get your team to adopt it, I guess is a better way to say it. And that's been the hardest challenge overall. And I think when it comes to adopting, simplicity of the application is a huge thing, especially when you're dealing with language barriers, which we have dealt with, and you're dealing with educational gaps. We have some people here who didn't even graduate from high school, that we're asking to monitor and use the app. It's a lot easier for the younger generations to do it, but some of the older generations, when they're 50, 60, or 70, and they didn't have the tablets in their hands growing up, it's a little bit harder for them to catch on. So I think that's the hardest piece, is the adoption. And after that, then changes happen. And that's the fun part.
Okay. How did Hoku apps resolve this?
You want me to go into all that? I probably don't want to go that direction, right? Okay, I got it. Hoku apps help solve the adoption through a myriad of ways. One way was we were able to create what they call as a test flight piece, which allows us to basically take the next build and go through a bunch of different scenarios where we can actually go through some mock-ups and some basically run through a bunch of different scenarios within the app to get all the bugs out, make sure that it's operating the way that we want it to operate. If we want to make some tweaks or changes, we're able to do that before the app goes live, before the new version goes live. So that's been a huge piece, is being able to actually have an application in advance before it's live, to be able to mess around with and test it out to make sure that it's functioning the way that we want it to function in the field before we release it live. The other item that's been important too is, we have a weekly phone calls, conference calls with the Hoku guys, which we'll get on the call with them. We'll run through all the new changes we're going over, some of the bugs we ran into, if there's been some new ideas that popped up and we want to convey their ideas to them. So on a weekly basis, we'll sit down with them and see where we're at with the build. Another thing we like too is they're very good at notifying us via email, where they're at with the build, and what's current, what's new, what's in testing, what's in development. So they're pretty good at notifying our team about where they're at with the build, because this stuff does take a little time in some scenarios. So that's also been as good as well.
Okay. How fast Hoku gets you what you need?
Hoku's always been very fast at responding to our needs, and building an application is very challenging. One of the most challenging things I think I've ever done professionally. And it's challenging because there's a lot of critical thinking. And in a lot of our scenarios, we've built some pieces that after a month or two, we decided we didn't like them. So we blew them up. And a lot of it's critical thinking through the processes of what you want to have happen, what the end result of what you're trying to accomplish is. And Hoku is very good at working through all the problems and trying to understand the end goal. And as you build an app, you are going to have problems. It's part of building an app. It's almost guaranteed. So through the testing, you're supposed to, minimize some of the problems that you have with the app. But there's going to be problems, and that's important that when you do identify the problems, how quick you can communicate it, how quick we can fix it, and how quick we can get those adopters still on the adopting train to keep on moving forward. So Hoku's been very good at that, very responsive. We have a little bit of time difference because of their corporate headquarters, but they've always been responsive at all hours of the day. So it's been good for us.
Okay. What are the future plans, and what else are you looking in the future, like can come up in the app and change more things in the business?
Um, we have many future things that we're working with Hoku on currently to build. A lot of it centers around more quantifiable analytics, where we can quantify how many square foot's getting installed per day on each job or as a whole for the company. We have some things that we're building for activity logs and some maps, and we've got a myriad of recommendations and wants from our team across the board. So we've got a lot of things that we're still working on with Hoku that were never part of the original plan. And now it's just the piece has kind of grown so much now, and we see so much opportunity within what we're doing that we have now added on these pieces. And we're excited about it too, because we can now see where our company can be in the future. And we see that with this platform, we're going to be very, very, very hard to compete against. Because we're going to be able to service our customers like nobody else in the market has been able to service their customers. And I like to say that in general, overall, from a subcontracting standpoint, all of the subcontractors that we are friends with, in this market, they want something like we've built. And that's exciting because we have something that everybody wants. And for us, that's creating a solution. And that's exactly why we wanted to do it. And that's exactly why we had Hoku do it. And it's exactly why we like Hoku and what they've done.
How hard is it to get the app developed through Hoku apps?
Okay, how hard is the app to build? Well, I think that building an app in general is incredibly complicated. building it through Hoku has been complicated, but not because of Hoku. It's been more because of us. You know, I don't know how else to say this, but we had an original idea that we came to Hoku with, and after a few months and after we have gone through a bunch of the building, we realized that what we were building wasn't quite what we wanted. Actually, it was what we wanted, but then we realized we wanted something slightly different, and didn't want to do the build that we were currently building. And I don't know how often that happens with the other guys that build apps, but for us, it was almost like an organic journey where we were brainstorming on a weekly basis, and we got to a point that we said, you know what? We don't think we want to build this piece anymore. We don't know if it's going to work, because after we've gone through all these scenarios and we've built all this stuff and we've got all this stuff tracking, we see that the value is actually in this other way. You know, this is where we think this would really help us out more than what we originally built. And I don't think we would ever have had that, we would never have had that direction if we had not worked with Hoku. Because otherwise we probably would have just hired some guy, you know, to do it turnkey for a certain dollar amount, and then he would come up with the app, and you know, and we would probably like some pieces of it, not like some pieces of it, but we weren't able to really direct what we wanted to do organically through the process. And I think that's the difference between using Hoku and building the type of piece that we did versus just hiring somebody off the street that's an IT guy or someone to build an app, is that not knowing how to build an app and not knowing the limitations and not knowing what you can or cannot do, you almost pigeonhole yourself to the build, because you're dealing with a single person or a group of people. There's a separate company that may not have the resources or knowledge, or it could be as simple as a template that's got the newest style out that's hot in the market. You know, like Hoku's got that. Versus our template that we wanted to use was kind of old. You know, it was kind of it doesn't look good into the eyes. You know, so something as simple as that, we wouldn't have a nice template that we could send out to a customer. You know, and I think that comes from having a strong team that can build a very strong app for us, as well as be on top of the tech. And that's from the most current, you know, visual, aesthetically pleasing piece to the ease of functionality, to going from one piece to the next piece. And you only get that when you have guys that are building at a large volume like Hoku is, and they have the experience of building large apps for large companies. So they're able to service the smaller companies and the larger companies and the middle line companies very similar. And they're able to guide. They did a very good job of guiding us along the way, and then also bring up ideas of, hey, you know, we could also do this, you know, and they give an example of some things that we had some ideas on, and then we were like, oh yeah, that's great, let's do that. That sounds great. So for us, we've never built another app, so we can't, you know, say that compared to other people, but I can tell you right now that we feel that the product we've come up with today is a organic journey with Hoku. I'd like to walk in on that one.
Okay. So the last one. When you pass on any requirement, how fast Hoku apps platform get you that?
When you pass on any what?
Requirement.
Requirement?
Any new requirement?
When I pass on any new requirement, what does that mean?
Like when you give them any new requirement, when you give any new requirement to the Hoku guys, how fast Hoku app platform gets you back?
How do you want me to answer this question? You in person or remote?
I mean, yeah, it just like when you give any requirement, okay, this is something new I wanted to add in the app, and so how fast Hoku platform gets you there?
Gotcha. Okay. So when we have a requirement or a recommendation or a request that we want to have Hoku accomplish for us, normally they're very fast at accomplishing that with a couple different methods and processes. we like to see some drafts, some mock-ups of what maybe we are going to create, which gives us a feel for it. And then they're normally pretty quick at turning around the build and then giving us something to test around and within test flight to then see if we like it or not. And normally it's pretty fast within 3 to 7 days depending on the build or the change. But ultimately, we have a request for the item, and if it's small, normally it happens pretty fast. If it's large, they'll tell us it's a big build and they'll give us an estimated time frame. So we've actually been able to gauge some of the requests, and internally we're a little bit more cognizant of not trying to load up a bunch of giant builds all at one time. And then also there's an organic piece for us knowing, how to build something like this. And you can't add on 100 different things at one time because you're going to blow up the build and it's going to be unstable. So that's something organically you have to learn. So for us, it's been huge. I mean, overall, I think the experience for us has been first class, and we wouldn't recommend anybody else. What was the question? I forgot what the question was at the end.
I mean, when you give any new requirement,
Oh, yes, yeah.
how
Okay.
fast Hoku platform,
Okay. I answered that
take you
question.
back?
Okay. I answered that question.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I think we're good.
Anything else?
I can't think of. I mean, other than that, if you would like to say something,
I can.
include something.
No, I think I said enough good things. The only thing we could do is do something really funny for Needy and like talk about you or something. Be like, oh, Gaurav, man, he's by the most amazing guy I've ever met, and he's been our founder and our God-given. It's something funny to send to Needy.
Not really.
Okay. I think that'll be good. I think that summarizes all, right?
Yeah, I think I'm also thinking of if anything else comes into my mind. I mean,
Okay.